Today's agenda, we'd like to go through some budgeting basics because we find that people are in different stages with where they are. Some are non-budgeters, they've just come to Qube and want to learn about budgeting. So we'll cover some of the basics, how the app supports probably a variety of budgeting styles. So to get started with budgeting, what we're going to share is a template that you can use. So we'll post it in the chat here as well. And it's a very simple, like a starting budgeting template. And in the future, we're going to bring this kind of a template where in the app itself. So right now, there's not like a spreadsheet style where you can put all your cubes together and kind of put your plan together, but that's coming. So I'm gonna pop that template, that link open here so you can also see on the screen. And this is filled out, but feel free to just remove the numbers and personalize it to yourself. So you can go to File and make a copy, and you should be able to make your own copy of this document. So it's got 4 tabs, and I'll walk you through each one. And if you do it this way, again, this is for someone, maybe you haven't set up your Qube Money yet. If you already have, you can still utilize this. But it would be really helpful to see the overall picture of your plan and budgeting plan, and then you can implement it in the app. So the first tab talks about your income. If you have you're not a variable income person, so you have a pretty fixed income every month, like a typical paycheck 1, paycheck 2 within a month, then you can add those paychecks, the amount you expect in a typical month, and then any other income you may have. So here, just as an example, is like you may have a rental income that you get through some other means. So this person makes $4,500, and that's the income portion. So pretty straightforward, just the numbers that you expect to earn every month. So the second one, yeah.
Interject real quick. We've had a few people enter in since we started. We're just going over basic budgeting, getting started. And as of now, this layout doesn't exist within the Qube app, but it's coming. And so this is kind of our interim state of how you can kind of get started, get it all in one place on paper, and then we'll talk about transferring it over and setting it up in the Qube app. So there we go.
Yep. So I'm going to move on to Bill Qubes. Now, Bill Qubes are typically easier to start with because they're based on facts. They're easy to answer, like, what is the frequency of that bill? You generally know that answer. If it's a mortgage, you pay monthly. Auto insurance could be every 6 months. So these help you answer these quickly. And then also you could have a variable, which is a bill cube, but you don't have a set frequency for it. So there is an option even in the app to make a bill cube as variable. And that changes certain behavior, which we'll get into. So here are just a couple of examples to show you a variety. There's a monthly bill, variable every 6 months. And then we're working on a feature which we call custom frequency. So today in the app, there are only a few options for frequency, but as soon as that custom frequency is released, you'll be able to do a variety of things, like every 3 months on the first Tuesday and crazy stuff like that. So that's coming very soon. And then the bill amount. So that's the amount you when the merchant charges you, how much you pay. So in this example of every 6 months, you pay $600. And then the next due date. And these are the same questions the app also asks you when you create a new cube. So having this filled out before or ahead of time could be easy, and then you can just create it as this. And then the monthly budget is something that you enter per cube of how much you want to budget. So currently we only budget monthly in Qube. And then I know a lot of people have requested different budgeting periods. Some people like to budget every 2 weeks, or like the 1st and the 15th of the month, to coincide with the paychecks. So again, those are also coming as well. So you can get excited about a lot of things that are coming. So that's why this is $100, because it's expecting that you're gonna within 6 months you'll have $600, or within a year $1,200. So that's how you can kind of arrive at that calculation, and then you get your total for your Bill Qubes. So once you're done with that step, we can move on to spend cubes. Now, spend cubes are a little bit harder because it's all up to you. There's not a truth such as with Bill Qubes, like there's a merchant and the charges. So what these two questions can help you get to that monthly budget that you should be saving up for. So an example here is like grocery. Okay, how often do you typically go grocery shopping? Do you go every week? Do you just go like once a month and then do your bulk shopping then? So whatever works for you. And these don't have any impact on the behavior of the app. These are just helpful things to get to a good number for yourself. So groceries typically could be every week and you're spending $100 every week. That gives you an idea that you should be budgeting $400 per month. And then again, like eating out every 2 weeks, $1,500. And then you can have some things which are totally variable, or maybe you're going to put in all these numbers and then later see if you have any extra income. So like fun money could be different every month as well. So once you've input that, we'll move on to goal cubes. These ones are also easier. So like two examples given here are a new car, or it's basically a one-time expense, a new car, or a vacation, or a down payment for a house. Like you're saving up and building it up, and then on a specific date, you're going to make that purchase. So you know the amount, $20,000, you know the date, and that will give you a contribution. The app will actually suggest, once you enter these two fields, like the date and amount, it'll suggest what you should be contributing if you want to match that. And again, you can play around with these numbers, because then you're going to see your total on at least in this sheet on the first page, that are you actually exceeding your income, and then you can go back and adjust. Yeah, Kaylee, did you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone has any questions throughout this, you can throw them in the chat and we can address them as we go or at the end. But yeah, this is just helpful for some people to get everything out on paper, either before they set up the Qube app, or just as you add more to your budget. Like some people start out using Qube just with a couple discretionary spend cubes and then gradually add all of their Bill Qubes over time. So this might be helpful to you. Most of you probably already have a system and you're good to go. And so we're going to move on to how to set that up in the app. Yeah, if you can take us back. I'm going to talk in more detail about Bill Qubes. And we talked about Bill Qubes last time and kind of what they are and what makes them unique. And so I'm going to go into how to create them. Within the Qube app, if you go to your Bill's home, there's a little plus Qube icon that you can see right there to create a new Bill Qube. And it walks you through it. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but you can choose a name, choose an icon, choose a color, make your app colorful and fun to look at, and then choose a bill frequency. And then from there, you can choose the bill due date, the next due date, and then the monthly budget and the bill amount. And sometimes these may be the same, and sometimes they may be different depending on the frequency of your bill. One of the examples Sarab gave was like an every 6 month bill amount. And so every month you may be wanting to contribute 1/6 of that, or maybe it's a variable amount where it's a utility bill. And so, you know, maybe your last bill was $75.32, but you just want to like make sure you're covered. And so maybe you just put $100 every month aside into this utility bill. And so it kind of builds up over time during the months that you use less. And then the months that you use more, you have a cushion there. So you can kind of set that however you'd like. And then it shows you there on the right what your bill cube will look like on the bill's home. And there's a few things that you can see there. It shows the balance, the current balance in that cube, the bill amount, the next due date. The due date will turn red if it's past due. And then on the left, it shows a card number and an account number. And these are virtual bill cubes. So we give you a virtual account number and card number that's unique to each bill cube. And this is important because you give your merchant this specific account number or card number, and they only have access to the funds in this bill cube and not access to your whole account. So you can see just the last four numbers on your bill's home for easy access.
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to just quickly touch on. I've been hearing some feedback from like new users who may have missed or incorrectly checked the decline charge if different. So if that is checked, and what that means is that we will only authorize the exact bill amount. So in this example, exactly $15.99. So if you check that, then any other amount from the merchant will be denied. So that's just it can be a very useful tool if you want to use it like that. Otherwise, if you want to allow different amounts, then you would just keep it unchecked.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And so as long as you have enough funds in the cube, if you leave that unchecked, anything will be authorized within that amount that you have. So great. If you go to the next slide, it shows how to edit your bill cubes and view the cube details. So if you click into like that Netflix cube right there, Sarb, could you take us to the next screen?
I already did it not update for you?
No, it was delayed for me for some reason. Okay, here we go. So if you tap on that, it'll take you into the cube details where you can see all of the settings that you have set up. And you can click any of these arrows to edit those particular fields. And this is helpful. You can view the full virtual account number, card number. If there's a due date, sometimes our system may not detect like a bill was paid, but it was on a different due date. And so if there's some mishap, it may say that the due date is in the past. You can just easily tap on that and skip forward to the next due date. You can change the frequency. We give a little stats. We show how many days until it's due. And then a lifetime paid amount, which can be interesting. So you can see how much money you've given to Netflix over the months or years, or how long you've been using Qube to pay for it. So there's just a couple things to be aware of there. If you go to the next slide, another really cool feature that Qube has is the ability to pause bill cubes. And this is nice because we've all, signed up for subscriptions and with the intent to cancel it, but then sometimes merchants make it difficult to cancel a subscription, or maybe there's something that you just don't want to pay for this month. Maybe it's something inconsequential like Netflix or a streaming service. You can come in and tap that pause icon, that red pause icon, and you can temporarily decline any charges that come to this bill cube. So whoever you've given this account number to, it will now decline. And so that's kind of cool. It can buy you some time. If you forget to cancel on the merchant side, and the merchant will, they usually try to charge a couple of times, but it's really awesome to have the power on your side to be able to decline that charge, where in a traditional bank account, you've got all your money in one big pot, and merchants, as long as they have your number, they can dip in and charge whenever they would like. So, and then you can resume your bill payment just as easily with a tap. Really quickly, Sarab is going to set up a demo in a second, but I will just briefly touch on the funding screen as it currently stands in the app. And this is a really helpful feature. If you go to the overview screen in the app, you can access funding, and it will take you to this screen right here. And this currently functions, I mean, a little bit like the spreadsheet, where you can see all of your cubes in one place. Bills, spend, goals, they'll all be listed here. And you can see the budget for each one, all totaled up in that middle column, and then the funding amount, which I'll talk about in a second. Well, I won't say too much. I'll say, this is really helpful to see. You can also see your cloud balance at the top. And then the idea is that you take the money in your cloud and you divvy it up between all of your cubes. And so for me, I use this screen on the first of every month. I come in here and I take all the money that I've been building up in the cloud from my last paychecks, and I go in and I quickly fund all my cubes. It just takes me a couple of minutes. So there's a couple cool features here, but maybe I'll just let Sarah demo those so we're not being redundant.
All right, cool. So I'm going to switch to my phone and demo the funding screen.
Okay, maybe I'll answer a question while you're pulling that up. The question is, if I use a Bill Qube to pool all of the subscriptions I have, Hulu, Disney Plus, etc., and all those subscriptions have variable rates like monthly, annually, would the bill amount be the total amount for the year of all those subscriptions, and monthly budget be whatever the total amount is divided by 12? Yes, if you want to use it that way, you totally can. The nice thing about dividing up Bill Qubes per merchant is, so if you just had a Hulu Bill Qube, you could do it that way, because then you can tell us the due date and the frequency and the amount, and we can notify you. It will show up red if the due date's past due. It will show up if your balance is too low. Those kind of tips we can only give you if we know those specific information. But I can totally see why people would want to put things together. And eventually we want to allow for grouping cubes. As we're building out the new funding feature, we will allow for that. So maybe you'll have a bunch of different subscription cubes and you can group them by that category. So we do have users that use it in both ways. But the monthly budget amount is just information for you. So when you go to the funding screen, you see the budget amount and you can decide how much to fund that cube per month. So where you would need to be really careful is, like, say there's an annual subscription that comes in one month that may be like $100, but between all your subscriptions for the year, it's only $300. If you're only contributing, $50 or whatever a month, then you may not have enough that month. So I don't know if this is making sense, but that's why I personally use just one merchant per Bill Qube. Makes it easier, less mental load to keep track of. So let me know if that answered your question. I think that was Anthony. Okay, take it away.
All right, so hopefully you can see the screen. Yeah.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so I'm going to go to the funding screen. So it's right on the overview, and I tap funding. And then, like Kaylee explained, you can see all of your cubes in one place. And this is right now the only screen where that can happen. You can also sort them, by different things, alphabetical or cube type. So cube type puts all the Bill Qubes first with their dates, and then spend and then gold cubes. So there are three icons up top, and then I want to talk about the I one first. So you can see there's a clean view where you're just looking, you're just seeing the Qube name, the budget amount, and funding. So this is a cleaner view to just focus on what you want to do. And you can also see that your current total budget is 4837 for this person. But then if you wanted to see other fields like what is the balance or how much you have already funded this month, then you can tap on that I, and then it shows a little bit more information about each cube. So the balance and funded is shown for all of them. For Bill Qubes, we show the bill amount if you needed to reference what is actually the bill amount. Again, if it's not monthly and it's different, then that could be something handy. And then for goal cubes and spend cubes, there's no bill amount. So that's the I icon. Then we have the pail for some quick fill options. So let me tap on that, and we have a couple of quick fill. The simplest of them is the 100% of budget. So what that does, and let me show it to you right now, is that it populates all the funding amounts to match the budget. So you can see it's the exact 100. That's what 100% is. That you want to fill as much as budget. So typically you would probably do this if you're only going to do it once a month. Maybe you're not getting like 2 paychecks, or even if you are getting 2 paychecks, but you're building it up and only want to distribute on the first, let's say, of the month. So that's when this could come in handy. The other things, once it has been filled, so just because the number has been populated in that blue color, it doesn't mean that has happened. You would still need to hit the Fund Cubes button up top to actually fund the cubes and move the money from cloud. So no money has moved, and you can kind of play around with this. So actually in this example, you can see I'm seeing 4837 in red because I don't have that much money in the cloud. I only have 1984. So I would need to reduce the funding amount. And there are a couple of ways I can adjust that. So I can also swipe left. So let's say babysitting. I don't want to fund that anymore, this time. So I can swipe left and hit clear. Now what that did is only cleared the individual babysitting cube, but all the other ones are still blue and they're populated. So, and then something else, what I could do is just change the amount. So in random, instead of 50, I only want to do 20. So you can actually type in a number and you'll see the color change. Anything that's manually input and different from how it was filled is in black, whereas anything that was systematically filled is blue. So you can do that. I'm not anywhere near reducing my amount, so I'm going to try a couple of other quick fills. So 100% was too much. Let me try 50% of my budget. And what that would do is everything would be half of the budget. So if you get paycheck 1, paycheck 2, you could do this twice a month, this feature. Now I'm still over, so it doesn't help me. I can also reset the entire screen with the eraser icon at the top. So I just hit that, everything is 0. I can do that. Now the other couple of quick fills are a little bit more complicated. So 100% of budget, 50% of budget is straightforward. Fill to budget, and there's a little description that explains what it is. It's basically filling enough funds to reach the budget amount in each cube. So what is taken care of or into account is the current balance. So you'll see when I do that, it won't always be equaling the budget amount. Like mortgage, it's not filling anything because my balance is 1,500 and it's already high or higher than my budget. So this could be good if you if you just want to add enough. And that's, you don't have to do any math. It just does it for you. So that could be really good. Left to fund takes care of what you have funded this month. So it's nothing to do with the balance, but just what you have funded. If you keep funding it maybe throughout the month, then it's gonna take into account what you've previously funded and then the delta of what you funded and the budget that you wanted. That's what left to fund is. And then the last one, fill underfunded bills, only fills the bills. So it won't even fill any gold cubes or spend cubes. And even in the bills, it'll only do which are underfunded. So if like my auto insurance, you'll notice it did not fund that, because it also actually takes care of, I think, the date to know what is underfunded. So those were a couple of quick fill options, and I think that's pretty much it. Any questions on that screen?
So now that you can see the funding total is under the cloud balance, now the fund cubes button is enabled. And if you tap that button, then the money would all be dispersed into individual internal transfers from the cloud to the cubes. So it's a really useful screen. Like I said, on the first of each month, I go in, I hit fill to budget, and then I go through and like, if there's a couple special cases for this month, Christmas gifts or whatever, I'll add a little bit more. Or if I'm running a little bit tight this month on my freelance projects, then I'll reduce some of them, but it just takes a minute. So it's a really great screen.